Welcome to part 3 of What If Ahsoka Joined Vader. Thank you for your support on the first 2 parts of this series. If you haven't seen them, I recommend you watch those first before watching this video. The links will be in the description below. The morning light from the twin suns ascended upon the planet of Tatooine. For the 2 inhabitants of an Imperial shuttle, today would be a journey of discovery. Those inhabitants were Darth Vader and Ahsoka Tano. Vader rarely slept, due to the considerable pain the Emperor had subjected him to in the ghastly suit, so he appreciated last night's rest of his weathered cybernetics. Ahsoka, meanwhile, had not used the night to rest, as again, she contemplated if she was doing the right thing. Her search into the Force was inconclusive. Together, they descended the ramp of the shuttle, as they could see the remains of Obi-Wan's camp much more clearly. Upon closer inspection, daylight revealed faint footprints, leading away from the campsite. Following them, they find their way to a small hut. This was the former home of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Vader and Ahsoka aren't surprised to find the home completely devoid of possessions. Obi-Wan was not that short-sighted, even for a Jedi. However, the finding of Obi-Wan's home did not help discover what he was doing here in the first place. Ahsoka pulled out a pair of macro binoculars from her pouch as she observed the scenery. No wonder her master had hated this place. There was only sand, thought Ahsoka to herself. After a moment, Ahsoka could make out the silhouette of a slightly larger building than Obi-Wan's home. Pointing this out to Vader, he nodded with authority as they sped off to the building. But as they were stone's throws away from the building, Vader stopped in his tracks. Memories of Vader's past life began to resurface, as he collapsed in pain once more. Vader requested for Ahsoka to go alone, as he trundled back to the shuttle. Ahsoka nodded in acceptance, and knocked on the entrance to the building. An elderly gentleman opened the door, with a strangely confused look on his face, as he saw Ahsoka. He was clearly not used to Togrutas being on Tatooine. Allowing herself into the home, she began to question the man who introduced himself as Owen, and a lady named Beru, on what they knew about Obi-Wan Kenobi. They knew very little, except he had tried many times to train Luke, but they were scared he would become like his father. Now it seemed, Obi-Wan had taken matters into his own hands, and abducted Luke from their home. Ahsoka left the Lars' home, and headed back to the shuttle, wondering what else Vader knew about this mysterious Force-sensitive named Luke. Re-entering the shuttle, she sees Vader slumped over the pilot's seat, looking even more despondent than usual. As Ahsoka entered the cockpit, they both sensed the same thing: hatred towards the Emperor. With a renewed determination, they headed back to Mustafar, intending to rebuild the collapsed holocron vault. In the meantime, Obi-Wan was oblivious to the events surrounding his old home, as he and Luke entered Dagobah's atmosphere. The duo sense of the planet was extremely strong with the light side of the Force, hence why the Sith had neglected the planet. Touching down in a boggy marsh, the Force guided them to a small hut, that only one person Obi-Wan knew could live within it. Entering the hut, they see the diminutive figure of Yoda observing a small pot. Although Luke had never seen Yoda before, he could understand why Obi-Wan held him in such high esteem. It was as if his large ears projected knowledge of the Force. As Yoda beckoned them to sit, they merely sat in silence for what seemed like hours, as Luke passed the time by meditating. Yoda is suitably impressed by Luke's patience. Perhaps he was not following in his father's footsteps after all. The trio then went outside, as Yoda began a series of tests on Luke, in order to determine his progress thus far, as Obi-Wan stood at the side, observing proudly. Yoda is pleased with the progress Luke has made under Obi-Wan, but senses an underlying fear. This was something which would shape his training. In the outskirts of the Outer Rim, Darth Sidious was menacingly walking upon a rocky terrain, as he was furious about the latest signals given to him by the Force. One of the most powerful Sith Lords in galactic history was in the unknown. His apprentice had not responded to any of his communications in the past month. Perhaps his trip to Malachor in search of the holocron had not been successful. After all, he had heard reports of his Inquisitor's demise. It was time for Sidious to make his own trip to Malachor and unravel this newest development in the Force. That is it for part 3 of What If Ahsoka Joined Vader. If you'd like to see a part 4, please like this video and subscribe for more what ifs. And as always, leave a comment on what if you'd like to see next. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.